Yo, it's 12:30 in the morning right now. I'm studying for math, and I just want to talk about a couple of things that's been on my mind lately. The first one is a biblical verse, Mark 8:36 was it? It says, "What shall I gain if I own the world, but I sacrifice my soul?" I don't remember the exact verse, but it's something related to that. And I heavily disagree with it. Because having everything in life will make you happy, right? You can argue, like there's been debates that money gives you happiness. And I think some cases that's true, but in other cases that might not be true, I guess. Because if you have money, you can buy whatever you want, right? However, if you don't have money, the joy of being happy is easier to come across because you're used to having nothing, and when you gain something, the change in levels make you happier. So it's more common for you to become happier if you have nothing because you gain something, and that level change boosts your endorphins. Meanwhile, if you already have money, then it won't matter, right? Because you'll strive for more and more and more until there's nothing left for you to gain. And it's hard because having everything means having nothing, because you can't use it for yourself anyways. Now back to the verse. If owning the world gives pure happiness, even if it sacrifices your soul, would you still do it? How can I say that it brings happiness? Well, first and foremost, it's the dream of any man. There has been, of course, a time in your life when you wanted to own everything. You wanted to own the world, right? So, it's a dream of every man. And nobody has ever achieved that. There were people who were close. Look at Alexander the Great, or Alexander the Conqueror, however you want to put it. He united many nations. He fought many wars, he beat many people, and he led people to victory. And it's the closest we've ever got to a global unification, I guess, even though it's just parts of Europe. But still, that feeling of being a conqueror, of being able to conquer so many kingdoms and fight so many wars, fight and win so many wars, it's a different feeling, right? You'd feel happy, you'd feel accomplished, because you are accomplished. But in the end, he wasn't able to do it, right? He died in a war. I think that's his cause of death, in a war. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is, it's a different feeling to be able to rule everything, and nobody has ever done it. So I feel like if you were to do that, do something that never has been done before by any other person, definitely, number one, it's definitely a different feeling. And number two, I bet you'd be really, really happy because you own everything. You're essentially God. Do you think God's happy? I think being able to just watch us from afar and see how his creations behave in his creation, it's always gonna be a feeling of pride. There are many times in my life where I thought to myself, why can't I just have a bird's eye view over everyone and just spectate instead of actually living my life? I thought about it, and it's I've always wanted to do that, I guess. But I can't because I'm here to live. And to live is to suffer. And to suffer is to create. I live to create. Back to what we're talking about. Another historical figure I'd like to bring up is Napoleon. Napoleon Bonaparte. In an era where church and state is separate, in an era where the church pretty much handles everything, they use religion to their advantage, the Pope is the leader, he was able to make himself emperor. That's not unification of anything, it's ruling over everyone with him in the center. It's not ruling the world, it's not having the world in the palm of your hands, it's having a part of the world in the palm of your hands, but not the whole world, right? But he was still able to do it. You think he'd feel good? I bet he did. But it didn't last long because he was exiled. The point I'm trying to make is, if you have the world in the palm of your hands, even for a while, you'd be the happiest you'd be the happiest person on earth. Even if it costs you your soul, because you're able to do something that not everyone can accomplish. Anyways, it's good. It's a good thought to have. It's nice to just sit back and think of hypotheticals. And one more thing I'd like to add. Being able to accomplish something that not many people can find doable. It would make you remembered. It would make people remember you for the rest of your life. And I feel like in order to live eternally, not just heaven eternally, not just afterlife eternally, being able to live eternally, it seems like a pretty great feeling, don't it? Especially in the mortal realm. We were taught as a Christian, as a believer of God in general, that we must not take with us the flesh, because what matters is the soul. But some of us want to be remembered by the people around us. Being remembered for something doesn't make you a sinner, does it? Sometimes it does, but I guess sometimes it doesn't. You were able to accomplish something not many can. I keep saying it because I'd like to emphasize it. And that will make people remember you. That's important to me. That's very important for me. Because in the mortal realm, you live forever. Even if your soul rots in hell for the rest of eternity, your name in the mortal realm will live forever as the ruler of the world, even if it means for a minute, even if it's just for a couple of seconds. As long as you're able to announce that, it's eternal. Because I'm telling you, life is all about optics. It's always about optics. Another thing that's been on my mind lately is a few months ago, or I think it was already last year, I had a dream. I had a dream where I had nothing. And in that dream, I had more drive, more ambition, more power than I could ever have at this moment. It felt nice. It felt really nice. because having nothing means I have more power than I could ever think of. I like that feeling. The feeling of the pride I have in myself for coming from nothing and achieving a lot. And I feel like a perfect life is worse than mine. I've had that in my notes for a while. A perfect life is worse than mine. And I truly believe it. Right now, I'm not really the type of person to have a lot of ambition. I've been raised by loving parents, and I guess I love them for that. It's true. I do love them for that. But there's times when you think to yourself, what will happen if my childhood was different? In my childhood, I was raised to believe that winning is everything, that achieving something is an obligation, that success is an obligation. And right now, I truly believe that with all of my heart. Success is an obligation. But it won't mean jack shit if it's, you know, it if I had nothing, I'll have everything. If I have everything now, I'll just be mediocre. But I'm thankful for the life I have. I'm thankful for everything. It's just that I wish life would turn out a lot differently. But yeah, it worked out in the end. I just wish I had more drive, more power, and more ambition than I had before. Than I had exactly as I had in the dream that I was talking about. So yeah, a perfect life is worse than mine. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Tomorrow's test is about first order and second order integration. It's kind of easy so far. Just learning about math is nice. One more thing that's been on my mind is studying, methods of studying. Spent my whole life, I spent my entire senior high school, junior high to senior high, no, my whole life studying in a way that I cram everything before an exam. And I believe that you don't learn when you do that. I believe that the best way to learn is to study every single day except the day before, to prove to yourself that you've mastered the topic, because cramming before an exam makes you forget everything, but putting practice into it, well, not doing so the day before the exam starts, it shows that everything's already stuck knowledge for you, that everything's already wired into your brain. You don't have to cram, because cramming leads to more mistakes and more forgetfulness in the future based on the context of the topic you're studying. Cramming is bad. Cramming has always been bad, but schools and university have normalized it. It makes sense though. It does make sense. Okay. Looking back at it now, this is kind of easy. I just didn't know how to solve it when it was given because I haven't studied it yet. I mean, who am I to talk, right? I'm cramming right now. I mean, it's not really cramming. I've already learned it. I'm just practicing, putting it in practice. So it doesn't really count. But my point still stands. Another thing that's been on my mind is the concept of self-hate. I'm not talking about the self-hate where you hate yourself, you want to kill yourself, you're cutting, you're doing self-harm. No, not that kind of self-hate. The self-hate that drives you to success, the self-hate due to the lack of change, the self-hate that will lead you to self-improvement. If you think about it, why did our ancestors even evolve? Why did they stop being hunter-gatherers and start being farmers? It's because they're sick of the uncertainty of hunting for food and gathering food from the wilderness and always moving. They want to settle. They hated the fact that their source of food has a factor of uncertainty to it. So what did they do? They decided to change because they hated their prior experiences. They hated their prior situation. And self-hate in the modern era has a lot of negative connotations, but I'm not gonna be talking about that. I'm talking about its positive benefits. And I know what you're thinking. Self-hate and positive benefits, those don't make sense. But it does. Because if you think about it, self-hate is a driving point of change. And being able to hate yourself means that you're able... No, it means that you wish for change to occur. is important to want to change. The reason that I am who I am right now is because I hated the way I was before. I believe that's important. I believe that we must hate ourselves. We must desire change in order to change. You don't just change by being yourself. You don't change by staying constant. You change because you have the desire for more. You want to change. Honestly, there used to be a time in my life where I really hated math. I was a part of a lot of math competitions when I was a kid. If you're in the Philippines, you probably know MTAP. If you're out of the Philippines, it's more global. You've probably heard of Kuman. And it's pretty much the same thing, except that in MTAP, there's yearly competitions. And in district level competitions in my grade, I'm always the one to make it to the top. Pretty much in the entire district, I was the smartest in terms of math, and I took that to heart. It was my pride and joy to always be at the top. But that's when I was in the Philippines. But now, when I moved to Saudi, not now, but when I moved to Saudi, everything is different. There was no MTAP, there was Kuman, but I didn't join. I was way too focused in a different place, in a different setting, that I couldn't pay attention to my pride and joy anymore. But I was still good at math. I was still really good at math. I wasn't the best anymore because I put no practice to it, but I was still good at it. Times like those, I've always thought to myself, what would happen if I stayed consistent? Would I be like a genius right now? Would I join a lot of competitions? I wasn't known for being good at math. I wanted to be. But it's just different. To the point where as I grew up more and more, without practice, I started hating it because I wasn't that good anymore. It's still my strong suit. because it's what defined me when I was young, and I was raised with people who always knew that I was good at it. And even though I'm not, they always thought that I was, because it was my identity. It was my identity as they grew up with me. But it wasn't anymore. And I tried so hard to keep up the facade, but it just didn't click. So I started hating it. I was still good at it. I have the fundamentals down in anything. If you, every single thing in the world, uh, even if it's art, even if it's sport, even if it's guitar, music, reading, anything, if you have the fundamentals down, you will always be levels above everyone. If you fully mastered the fundamentals of something, you'd always be levels above. Same thing is with math. But as I grew up, I started hating it. Then I grew up more. Then I started loving it again solely because of the feeling of success when you successfully solve something hard. It's endorphins. Like, God damn, I was able to do this. That feeling made me love it again. I've gained a lot of weight, by the way, and I'm proud of myself for doing so. But I lost my abs, so that's a negative, I guess. I'm gaining it back though. I'm not gaining it. I'm getting it back though. I've always wanted to gain more weight so that my strikes feel heavier. But I feel like I've also been neglecting my health by doing so, because I'm bulking in a way which is considered a dirty bulk, I guess. It don't matter though. It don't matter. It never does. And it's also kind of weird. Right now, I'm solving things with a pen. Even though I tend to make a lot of mistakes, especially in math. I guess I'm not scared of making mistakes this time. 1 a.m. The test tomorrow starts at 11, but before that I have classes at 9. So I'll probably wake up 7:30. Gives me 6 hours of sleep. Doable. Live through worse. What to do if there's multiple of them? Has to be a simpler way, right? Because there's 2 U's. I just noticed that if I add water to my hair, especially at night, it becomes more curly. You guys like the mullet though? It's been a week now since I last got a haircut. I've been liking it, it's pretty good. One thing I like to change up on myself is the fact that I have so much loose fat in my face. Like, you see this? Usually you only get those when you get older. Especially my neck area. Look, whenever I do this. Maybe because when I was a kid I've always been chubby. Also my jawline, like whenever I talk there's no jawline, but when I start swallowing or something, that's when it shows. I've always wanted to get a slimmer face, and I've been working towards doing that. I've done some research online and they said just less salt and more potassium. Whatever. Honestly, I think I'm already fully prepared. I know how to solve everything. And on these parts, I've already solved everything. I just need a lot of substitutions. But on each and every case, I know how to do it. Generally, what's the rule for all these first and second order derivatives? Is always there, right? And there's always a formula equally for y derivative is group the d of something normal version, the d of the same letter, so you can integrate it. Usually integrate something and like dx over x is a variable. It's at the bottom. It's ln x. Then you apply ln the other side. So be like x is equal to c times x. Am I fully prepared? Of course I am. I've always been prepared. Okay. Can I solve it with a pen? No, probably not. Unless I'm feeling cocky. I mean, I guess I can. Isn't general form just y on one end? Oh, I see. Whatever. I'm fully prepared. I'm ready. Let's get perfect. Ah, thank you for listening.